Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Recha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. This is your brother Kwame Watt of the Great Millstone Charlotte Camp, coming with a quick lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. And just a quick lesson, man. This afternoon, going in on the topic of what's going on in Gary, right, in regards to this blackout, right, and as brothers and you believers know, this is gonna be, America soon come, man, right? America is gonna be just one big Gary, Indiana, right, in regards to the power outages, man, right, and you can liken it to any of these, natural disasters and things of that nature. So like you. Right? Because America's going to be what? It's going to be like Katrina, right? America's going to be like one big Gary. Like all these calamities that are befalling these, isolated areas is going to be, taking place on the whole of Babylon the Great, right? So that's why I have here, 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, Salakia, and verse 11. And it reads, "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smites Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof." Right? Now, concerning Gary, right, they have what? The plague of darkness, man. Right? But that's also lending itself to sedition, right? It's ultimately going to lend itself to, right, actual diseases and things of that nature, man. Right? Because America is built on, it's a grid infrastructure, man. Right? The comforts of Babylon the Great, right, are all sourced through this, availability or access to this electricity, man. So all the health care, right, all the food, right. So it's gonna be a famine, right. All these things are tied to the grid stability, and what we know for sure is that they're planning to have some type of major power outages, man. Whether it be through cyber attacks, right? Whether it be through, orchestrated, right, grid failures and things of that nature, man. We know that that's coming to America, man. Right? This reports that they're gonna have a grid outage that lasts for months, man. Right? And we see the way people are acting, right, with 2 weeks worth of no power, man. Right? Everybody's losing it, right? Again, that sedition is taking place as a result, right? You look at countries like Cuba, I believe it was, that had no power, man, right? The whole entire country itself, right, being Babylon the Great, it's going to feel that same pain. And these people who have been living deliciously, right, are going to lose it, man, right? Verse 12, it says, "Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and the punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it," right? Because this is the punishment that Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai is bringing forth, Now let's get this here, right? Because we brought up the plagues of Egypt, right? This is Exodus chapter 10 and verse 20. It reads, "But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children go," right? And we're seeing the Lord hardening, Esau Edom's heart, man, right? And Esau Edom being the whipping stick that the Lord has set forth for the punishment of you Israelites, man, right? He's going to allow him to operate, right, with impunity, so to speak, right, until his judgment, finally comes. It says, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt." And if you've watched any of those videos that the people have been posting, that's a thick darkness, man, right? This is what we're seeing take place up there in Gary. It's going to be, the standard in Babylon the Great soon come, man, right? And they're going to allow it to take place to force people into submission, right? To ultimately be willing to take that mark of the beast, man. They're going to be looking at that as a means of salvation from the darkness, from the famine, from the plagues. That's what they're going to present this to the masses as, because they're going to allow that the order out of chaos, man. Right? They're gonna allow things to get out of control, so to speak, right? And then try to reel it back in, right, through the implementation of that chip. It says, and Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in the land of Egypt 3 days. And this is what we're gonna see, in Babylon the Great, man. Right, a thick darkness. It says, that country dark, right? And it's gonna be darker than that, man. Right, because the moon's not gonna be giving them light either, man. Right, like it says here, verse 23. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings, right? And we ultimately have this light through this wisdom, man, right? That's going to give us the stability in these times to come, right? But again, Babylon the Great, America is going to be like one big Gary, Indiana soon come, man, right? Now let's go back. Salakia. Second Ezra 15 and 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, swords in their hands. Right? And this is what we're seeing, right? People raiding houses, and it's just on a light level, man, right? What do they call them? Marauders and things of that nature, man. Looters, right? It's going to be the commonplace. That's part of the chaos that's going to ensue. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, right? Because what? The government is going to have no control, man, right? The local government, rather, right? Your police officers, right? Your first responders. That's going to be, what's the word? Pretty much extinct in that time, man, right? Unavailable, right? So now people are going to be taking matters into their own hands. That's why it says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power, right? You had that event that took place up there in, I want to say Seattle, right? Where they pretty much created their own, mini city during the C-19 times, man, right? During those lockdowns, right? That's part of that sedition, right? And with the power going out, it's going to be, feast or famine for the majority of these people, man, right? That dog-eat-dog world, right, that everybody speaks of when those shit hit the fan events take place, is going to be, before your eyes, right? Great violence, right? Women being taken, ravished, right? Families being killed, people being eaten, right? Because again, the famine is is going to be a major part of these outages, man, right? Because the people in Gary, they have some means to go, right, and go, they got generators and things of that nature at these grocery stores, or they can leave the city and go get supplies. But what are you gonna do when the whole country, right, is incapacitated, man, right? When all the logistics, right, the truckers, the deliveries stop, right? When the gas stations run out of gas, when the people, the grocery stores run out of food, man, right? Then you're going to start to see cannibalism take place, man, right? You're going to start to see, again, that sedition at all-time highs. And while the so-called elites, right, and the people orchestrating these things are watching from from the sidelines, man, right, so that they can ultimately swoop in and offer you that chip, right, as a means to save yourself, but it's not going to offer you the comfort that you think it is, man, right? Because on top of marking your soul, right, you trusting in this devil to keep his word, which is far from his ability, man, right? For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their power shall stand in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So that civil war, vibration and atmosphere is going to intensify. It says a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, because they're going to implement martial law, right, throughout all of this, man, right? Whether it be through the National Guard, whether it be through these what are they called, UN troops, right? You know, we got IDF and the U.S. military intermingled together again, right? So they're gonna be used as crowd control, man, right? So that's gonna be that martial law, status of the country, man. It says, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. And you're already seeing that separation take place, right? Neighbor to neighbor, right? That division, right? The spirit of division that the Lord is bringing, right? And you're seeing that executed in Gary as we speak, man. People who thought they were friends, right? Your neighbors, your local friends and family. Is every man for himself in this time, man. Right? It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And this is the time of great tribulation, man. Right? Gary, Indiana, what we're seeing over there, right, is just it's a small microcosm of what Jacob's trouble is going to entail, man. Right? Let's get that, and then we can close out with that, right? Because this is just a sneak peek, you know? We're in the previews of the Lord's great judgment, man, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. It reads, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, and that he being the elect, man, right? The elect are going to be redeemed out of the chaos, right? Though we're going to be in the midst of it, as you read in this chapter, in this in the commentary, right? Let's see. Yep, this is it says here in the David Guzik commentary, but he shall be saved out of it, not from it, but yet out of it, right? Not from it, right? Which is a cut to the whole rapture doctrine, right? It says not from it, so we're not going to be saved from experiencing, right, what Jacob's trouble is going to entail, right? But we're going to be saved out of Jacob's trouble, man, right? You know, the Lord is going to test us, try our faith, you know, test our integrity, right? And then redeem us out of it, Lord willing, we be a part of that number, man, right? That's what the elect are going to have to, what's the word? Overcome, right? Through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. It says, the Jewish people will endure this time of Jacob's trouble and be saved out of it, right? And like it says in John 17, right? As Yahweh Shai was praying for the elect, he said what? Yep, this is John 17 and 15. It reads, I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but thou shouldest keep them from the evil, man. So the elect are going to be guarded, right, in the times of Jacob's trouble, in the times of this darkness, right? As we read in that in Exodus, right? The light was shining on the Israelites, man, right? So we're going to have that light. We're going to have that covering, right, in the midst of this thick darkness that's going to encompass America, man, right? And again, Gary, Indiana is just a microcosm of what Jacob's trouble is going to entail, man, right? Just the tip of the iceberg, Again, a preview of what's to come for Babylon the Great, right? And 2/3, and you heathen out there, man, right? So, Lord willing, as edifying lesson to the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. I want to close by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasharallah, and the Bible Ball. Shalom.